Flooring is appealing, but not when it's peeling up. Hello and welcome to another When It Comes Down to It with Chuck Boutall, Director of Education at the Restoration Technical Institute. We don't want you to spend a fortune on a beautiful floor that only lasts less than a year as problems arise. The big issue we're going to talk about first is the determination between a wet location and a moist location. A moist location is a damp area. In other words, anything like a damp basement, unconditioned spaces in a home or a commercial building. It could be below grade, it could even be above grade, but it's just an area of the building that is unconditioned with HVAC and typically damp. Now understand, even if it's conditioned with HVAC, that can actually cause some of the issues in dew point, but that's another story for another time. Look up dew point issues in commercial buildings. Secondly, the wet location is a location where we're going to have something like shower rooms, bathrooms, and other areas that are physically going to get wet floors. So we're actually talking about physical water on the floor. Now this also could be a lower area of the home, like a basement or whatever else, that typically has a little bit of a flood issue. Many places have buildings that have areas that get repeatedly wet from rainstorms or something along these lines, and or it could even be an outdoor patio or something like that that people want to floor and enclose. So we want to make sure we understand the difference between a moist location and a wet location before we proceed with flooring. Now, why all of a sudden is flooring issues becoming a problem? Well, in the old days, literally, we used a high VOC plastic type adhesive. So this is kind of like plastic model cement. It was extremely strong bonding, and it had very high tolerances to moisture and water. The problem is it was very high in VOCs and caused a lot of problems with installers and the health and welfare thereof. And of course, these chemicals are now starting to be banned for our green initiative in the environment. Now, what also has happened is we've started taking things out of flooring, like asbestos. And typically the asbestos has been removed for flooring for obviously good reasons, but it has been replaced with something like paper products. So that means what we've done is we've taken something that is completely inert in a non-mold food and replaced it with paper, which is filet mignon and cracked crab on the buffet for free to mold. That's how much it likes it. It is its favorite type mold food, okay, is paper residues. So once we've changed our products literally from non-mold supporting foods and high moisture tolerant adhesives and materials, we've now gone green, and this was not considered when it was done. Now, we've had multiple problems over the last couple of decades because this initiative obviously started in the 90s. And a lot of times we've had problems with flooring, molds forming in flooring, flooring peeling up, molds forming in the adhesives letting go of the flooring, and these are directly due to either moist or wet location issues because the flooring was what? Not originally designed for a wet location or a moist location. Some of the additional aspects that have happened also just since basically COVID. Since COVID, what we've done is we're doing an extra amount of mopping or cleaning of the floors with liquid water and some type of chemicals. And also we're doing a lot more of misting or spraying chemicals into the air, helping to clean the air. All of this is what? Moisture added to the environment, and this becomes a problem with flooring systems that previously weren't a problem even before COVID. So as you can see, this continually manifests itself forward. So how do we fix this problem? How we fix it is choosing the correct flooring type for the location. Be very careful with manufacturers marketing people. I hate to say this direct up, but when it comes down to it, you're now finally starting to see things like, instead of waterproof, it's now waterproof for the first 8 hours. Or it might be moisture resistant. Now remember folks, when the word proof comes out, that means that this flooring should basically have no reaction with water at all. So to be waterproof for 8 hours and no longer than that, doesn't really make sense. It's not waterproof, it's just water resistant for 8 hours. So get the terminology straight and understand. But what am I actually looking for? What can we put down that we know is going to basically work? Well, first thing we need to do is make absolutely sure, of course, is that our substrate is clean, dry, and properly prepared for the flooring and the adhesive that is going to go on top of it. That's the first and most critical step. So make absolutely sure moisture testing has gone on and that the flooring has been inspected and is perfectly ready for the flooring system and adhesives that you're going to put on top of it. Secondly, when we're coming into the adhesives, the next step, we want to utilize adhesives that are truly moisture proof. In other words, most of these green adhesives are based with latex. Well, one is latex is a mold food. So we're putting food down for the mold. Secondly, most of these adhesives have problems where when water, either liquid or in just moisture, is constantly working on it, it weakens the adhesive. Think of Elmer's glue. Elmer's glue, a great craft glue, basically is liquid, forms a very hard, fairly clear adhesion bond. But if you notice, moisture added to fully cured Elmer's glue will basically allow it to what? Whiten and become soft again, losing some of its ability to hold on. So that is the same thing that's starting to happen with some of these flooring adhesives. So you need to make sure you're working with the right people in the right place and the right specifier for the right environment to make sure that you've got the exact adhesive that will not be affected by water or excessive moisture. Secondly, of course, is the flooring itself. Again, first thing to remember, avoid celluloses and latexes because these are mold foods. Any flooring that is made with cellulose is going to have potential issues in a moist environment, so simply don't place it there. Any flooring adhesive or flooring system that has latex in it is probably going to have issues as well if it's put into a moist or wet environment. These are perfectly fine for second and third story of a conditioned space, but not for floor slabs on grade or basements, especially below grade, where we're going to constantly have a moisture issue. Now remember, if you have a very dry environment, this may not be a problem, but most of us live in a fairly rainy area with wet soil around our houses, which means that the concrete slab is going to continually attract moisture from the slab. The water will move through the slab into the drier conditioned environment in the home, causing moisture to move up from underneath. That cannot be prevented too easily, so we need to select the right flooring system for it. Two options here. Floors that breathe, i.e. a floor that is put down with the proper adhesive, say glue down carpeting in a basement. Some people say that's a crazy choice. It's not, because the perms of the concrete are very low, under 1. The perms of the carpet are very high, above 90, which means as the moisture moves up through the concrete slab and finally gets to the carpet, what's going to happen is it wicks off the fascions into that environment, and we don't have a big issue with the latex adhesive holding the primary and secondary backing of that carpet together. Now, if you've got a lot of water issues, you might want to just go to some plastic type carpet with absolutely no latex adhesives in it whatsoever. But the idea is that's a floor that'll breathe. The moisture will come up through the concrete, breathe through the flooring system, into the home's HVAC, and be removed. So that's a fine setup. The other option is what we do in typical wet rooms. Think of shower rooms in commercial buildings, in facilities such as football arenas or sports arenas. The concept here is we're going to use a ceramic or porcelain tile type material, again with the correct adhesive and grout that is totally unaffected by water. This flooring system doesn't breathe, but it happens to be what? Highly cementitious and very low in any types of latexes or any types of celluloses or any other types of mold foods, as we call them out there, to make absolutely sure that there's no food source. The floor can handle moisture tolerances much higher than other flooring systems without a problem. Now, a lot of people love the look of a wood floor, and I totally agree. I love wood floors myself, but I come from the city of New Orleans, where some of it is below sea level, most of it is above sea level. The whole city's not below sea level, but the whole concept is very simple. Our ground soil is very wet no matter where you're at, and putting wood floor down directly onto concrete slabs is a large issue, and the best way to remedy this is to actually go ahead and use the newer ceramic flooring system that has that beautiful wood look to it. And if you really want to have the warmth, you can even put in some underfloor heating. But again, be very careful with underfloor electric heating systems when you're dealing with moist locations, because that is still electrified and can be a problem. Not electrocution-wise, but it can defeat your heating system. Remember, when it comes down to it, properly prepared substrate that is dry, clean, and suitably prepared for the flooring system that goes on top of it. No latex or any type of mold foods in the adhesive, and no cellulose or latex in the flooring system, and you're going to have a much better surviving flooring system inside of that area. Remember to always design the flooring system for its use first and its looks second. And of course, costs are always involved in there, and if you're looking for good use and beautiful looks, you're probably going to pay a little bit more for it, but that way it'll last 5, 10, 15 years or longer instead of less than a year. Thanks to C&R Magazine for support of the series, and thank you for learning with RTIlearning.com. Thanks to C&R Magazine for, thanks to Magazine. Thanks to C&R spitting all over the place now, here we go. So remember, when it comes down to it, remember, when it comes down to it,